Welcome everyone, wherever you are coming to us across the world today. This is the January 2026 OpenNTF webinar, and today we've got a lot of people here with some experience with respect to using AI, whether we are a developer or an administrator or an end user. We want to talk about our experiences and really have an open forum with questions from the group about what people are interested in, frustrated with, trying out, and what you're learning. So hopefully be able to share lots of interesting information from across the group here. Very quickly, just going to start with some welcome comments as we normally do, and then we'll get right into our roundtable. Just a quick thank you to Prominic for all of that they do for supporting OpenNTF. All of the infrastructure related stuff, and actually participating on the board too. So thank you very much to Prominic for their help with OpenNTF. Always a quick comment about the fact that OpenNTF is our community. So if you are a person sitting on this call today, on this webinar, or watching it later, you're part of OpenNTF, and everybody has something that they can share. So we encourage you to reach out and participate, ask your questions, share your answers, share your ideas. And if you got an idea of something that you want to try and build and share with the community that requires more than just you to do, get in touch with us and we can help connect you up with people that are also interested in that idea and can help put it together. And something else that we want to promote is the HCL Software Digital Solutions community. Paul is on this call, and Paul has put a lot of work on behalf of HCL into building that community. All of the old forums from years and years and years ago are there, of course, as well as new forums and a whole lot of other useful information. So if you haven't checked it out yet, we encourage you to do so. There's multiple different channels on where you can ask your questions, and of course, a lot of people are on the OpenNTF Discord, but the HCL Digital Solutions community is another good place to go to get your questions answered. Very quickly on upcoming events, we were just on a call, some of us hearing about upcoming user group events for the year. Most of those are going to be happening in the spring and summer. So in the end of winter here, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, in February, we've got a webinar. The new version of Notes in Domino 14.5.1 is in early access right now. And Christoph Adler, new board member to OpenNTF and a member of Pan Agenda, is going to give a presentation on what's new in 14.5.1. And in March, we have scheduled our Domino for Newbies series that we started last year. We're going to get into the second session on admin, so that'll be scheduled coming up. We also want to give a shout out to Engage, and I saw Tom on here. Let me just go quickly. Yeah, so Engage is going to be in April in Ghent. And they've actually got one of the largest, newest football stadiums in Belgium to host Engage this year. As is the case every year, they canvass speakers from all over the world to come and do their presentations, bring code to share, and engage in conversation, as well as HCL leadership. All of the HCL software product line with respect to kind of the Domino world is going to be there. And it's, again, an opportunity to do some networking and find some iconic Belgian beer. Again, dates are April 21st and 22nd for the main event, but there's on the Monday, April 20th, workshops are going to be happening. And big reminder that if you do want to speak at Engage, they're accepting abstracts up until the end of the month, so you got a few more days here to submit your abstracts to be able to speak. And another quick reminder too, if you do submit an abstract to speak and it isn't selected, please get in touch with us, because we can either take that presentation as a webinar or just put it together as a separate video and post it on our YouTube channel. So there's lots of ways to be able to participate in the community if you want to speak and end up not being selected to speak. I mentioned Discord earlier. That's where lots of things are going on in terms of sort of daily chats. Folks from HCL participate in Discord and the OpenNTF Discord channel. If you're not there, use this link, jump over there and jump in on the conversation. We look forward to seeing you there. Okay, just in prep for today's session, we'll let people ask questions through the questions panel. This is being recorded, will be shared on YouTube later. The slides are going to be available through our website probably by tomorrow. And so in the go-to interface, ask your question in the question panel and we'll get it put into the form. It's going to be fairly open. We've definitely got some thoughts to get the conversation started that we want to go through, but after that, it really is going to be an open conversation. So we're looking forward to getting lots of questions from you. And with that, I'll get everybody to unmute if you haven't yet. Our panel today is lots of people from the community. Karsten, of course, has been around for a long time. I'll just very quickly run off the list here and then we'll go through and let everybody introduce themselves. Karsten is a business partner doing lots of development. Paul, of course, has been in the community for a very long time. IBM Lifetime Champion, and now an HCLite, very much in the research world, and actually has transitioned somewhat away from Domino, so we're going to get the non-Domino perspective from Paul. Keith, OpenNTF board member, HCL ambassador, and an admin. Heiko, Sadar, and myself, we bring up the development side of things, also OpenNTF board members and HCL ambassadors. So Karsten, I'll let you start. Talk about your area of interest, a little bit about your background, and some things that you're interested in. And we'll keep these short, and then we'll jump into the rest of the stuff afterwards. So go ahead, Karsten.
Yes, I'm from German business partner from a company named Window. My day job is not really focused on Domino anymore, so I moved a bit to other technologies like MongoDB, Spring Boot, doing front end and back end stuff. Front end is React and Vue.js, and back end is Spring Boot in most of the cases. And yeah, part of my week is still filled with Domino, but not as before. So this, yeah, is my main.
Okay. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, so I think people are aware of all the various areas that I've been involved in, and that I've gone from Notes, client and Domino development to X Pages to Java in extension libraries, and since joining HCL, coding in Java for Vault and X. Domino REST API I was heavily involved with in the early days with Stefan on that, and over the last and then subsequently VaultScript as well, where I started using AI. We were coding VaultScript in VS Code, so I had GitHub Copilot in there to help me, and it was interesting to see how that worked with a language that LLMs knew nothing about, but particularly over the last year, it's moved into Rust, Python, did a little bit with Go as well, and all of that with AI, and using AI for research as well, into new technologies, and getting enough of an understanding to know what to do and what not to do, and moving further from that.
Awesome. Keith.
All right. So I am, as Grant said, a OpenNTF board member. Have my own company, B2B Whisper. I spend the better part of the last 25, 30 years doing admin and security stuff on the Domino side. From this perspective, today I'm looking at the AI stuff that I've done as an admin and as a user, but also on some side projects that I work on for people, generally on content and some other things. So just trying to bring a different perspective of maybe how the users see what we do versus how we on the development side see what we do.
Great. Heiko?
Yeah, thank you, Lloyd. I'm a HCL business partner, OpenNTF board member. software developer in the Java and the Node.js area, and we had a couple of AI development efforts going on over the past year, mostly outside of Domino, but with using Domino data and integrating Domino data again into that. So that's, I think it's brought me here today. So yeah, that's about it, I guess.
Okay, Sardar.
Hello everyone, and I am mostly freelance developer and consultant, and these days administrator. I have two different lanes with AI. One is I am interested in AI development, development with AI. I contributed in LangChain4j project into OpenNTF, which is integrating AI and AI APIs in a blank chain way in Java into Domino applications, plugin applications, or X-based applications. Whatever. I had a session last year at Engage and OpenNTF webinar about that. And the second part is I am Java developer, mostly using Java and developing the applications for Domino, and it's an interesting thing to use AI targeting Domino. It's a challenging thing, but I find many ways to use successfully use AI so far. I mean, we will talk about detailed examples on that stuff, but AI is excellent in some of the language, whatever the platform is. And as Paul said, like Rust and Python and stuff. In addition to that, AI is great in C API, it turned out. And AI is also great for writing admin script, batch scripts, or batch files, or PowerShell scripts. So I'm using all of them, and we'll talk about details, but AI is my everyday go-to tool right now. And apart from that, I'm a non-native speaker of English. My native language is Turkish, so AI is my chief editor. AI is checking every single English texts I write. AI is doing my all kinds of ombudsman writings. AI is my complaint manager, etc. So AI is very useful for me and my part of my daily life.
This is the very first example in today's presentation of how AI has replaced humans, because I used to do editing for Sardar for his abstract English, and he doesn't ask me to do that anymore. So very quickly about myself, I actually just realized I'm coming up on 34 years since my very first notes training. Still an active developer as a business partner and consultant in the Notes Domino world. And where I'm touching AI right now is that I have a customer that has an Xpages application that is they sell a subscription to a consulting service that has lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of coaching information that's stored in Notes documents and surfaced through this Xpages application, amongst a whole variety of other things. And we were approached last year, the development team, to do AI integration into that tool. And what we ended up doing was I was primarily responsible for coming up with an approach to extract all of that data into a format that could be read and ingested into a separate LLM. And then my colleague was responsible for building that into the Xpages interface. The timelines were really aggressive, and both of us thought there was just no way we were going to be able to pull it off, and were suitably impressed. This is on the Azure platform. It is significantly impressive. I really couldn't believe that we were able to build it, have it working in terms of being able to ingest data and then come back and provide reasonable, relevant responses. Some really good learning as a part of all of that. So I've seen it more from the how do we get the data out of Notes and into an AI engine perspective, and have had some AI development experience as a result of that. So that's where I'm coming from. Okay, let's jump into this this slide then, and kind of a free for all, so everybody's kind of got their own thoughts. But I want to start, Karsten, and give you the mic. Feel free to pick anything off of this slide and start the conversation.
Yeah, it's hard to think about things that I'm doing without AI, because I'm using it all day. For example, for development, of course, with the cursor editor, for example, I started on the command line with Ada. That's command line tool freeware, and you can connect it to any LLM. And then I moved to cursor because it's an IDE where you can just mark a line and say, yeah, you know how to implement this, look at my spec and just do it. And it's pretty easy to use and graphical. You have sequence diagrams for the plans it creates, and then executes the plan, and you can review the outcomes. So that's my main area where I use AI, but I'm also generating images for websites, for personal projects, building games with my son, where we let the Nano Banana from AI Studio from Google render the sprites of the game. So you can give it any image from the web and tell it, I need 10 images how this dragon flies, and you get the result.
Wow.
That's pretty powerful. I'm doing bathroom renovations with AI. You can take a picture, upload it to Nano Banana, and tell it paint the wall in a different color, or change something in that room, and you get the result. So it's pretty powerful, and so it's hard to see anything that's not touched by AI.
And maybe I didn't hear, but what models are you using mostly?
For cursor, it's a mix. There's an auto mode that's pretty okay. Opus from Anthropic, I pick sometimes, or GPT-5 too.
Yeah.
But for Opus and GPT, there's not a real difference. I think they are slower than the auto mode, but if you're not happy with the result of the auto mode, you pick another one.
Quickly, Paul, I'll let you go next. Sorry, folks, you're welcome to ask your questions now. We are not going to save questions until the end. This is going to be a much more open conversation as opposed to the normal OpenNTF webinars where we do save questions to the end. So if you have questions, dump them in now, and we'll just fold them right into the conversation. Paul, go ahead.
Yeah. So model-wise, we've got GitHub Copilot within HCL. So a lot of my stuff, I tend to default to GPT 4.1 because that's free. But when things get more complicated, with a recent project, I used AI in the planning phase and used Claude Sonnet 4.5 for that, so that I got better planning results out of it, got a clear step of tasks, and then switched to GPT 4.1 for the coding. I'm also using Gemini to do research as well as ChatGPT at times as well. But that has completely changed the way that I do research. Historically, it would have been use my Google Foo to distill what I wanted to ask down to the keywords, search on Google, go to the blog posts or documentation or whatever that came up. If I had questions from that, go to another one, look at another one. Now, my first step is go to Gemini, type the question in there, tell me about whatever, read the response, work out what I need to drill down further on, what I need to ask questions about, what I need to say, well, what are the pros and cons of this? How does it compare to whatever? What about this issue? Is this relevant or not? So it's much more natural language research, and then jumping off from that to the sources as and when they're needed. It's cut down my research time on a new topic dramatically. So whereas before it would have been an hour or so of looking at blog posts, and if something was explained in a way that I didn't quite get, I'd have to go off and look at another one to try and work out what it was talking about. Now I can be upskilled and decide whether I need to look at more or move on and come back later within kind of 20 minutes. So that's a major productivity enhancement. Productivity wise, I felt the need to look into trying to use Go a couple of months ago. I started going through a training course. 2 days in, I hadn't really, I was still probably a third of the way through the course. At that point, I just jumped across to Copilot and said, this is what I need to do. I want to do it in Go. Tell me how to do it. And it wrote the code, and it hit a pretty deep blocker fairly soon of a library that wasn't available on Go. This was to do with RAG vectorization, and so I've done a lot on RAG recently, and RAG is a very complex area. It's not like full text, and there are differences, and therefore that made it very clear very quickly that I wanted to choose a different language. A different language was the better option, and I can now jump between different languages very quickly. I can get productive very quickly. I hadn't done anything on Python probably 6 months ago. Over the last, I asked AI, how much does an average Python developer output in a week without AI? They said 300 to 800 lines. The project that I started on last week include, and this is just the coding, in that last week I've also done the planning as well, 2,560 lines. So kind of 3 times as much as it said an average Python developer would do without AI. And that's including integration tests, logging, documentation, back end and front end, moderate to high complexity application. Regular refactoring has got it down to cognitive complexity of 3.72, which is very low. Cyclomatic complexity of 2.23, very low. No functions and classes that are highly complex, which means it's a code base that someone with a Python knowledge could pick up fairly easily. So productivity wise, I've just gone through the roof.
Wow, cool.
I'm currently doing project work in Kotlin, not in Java. So the AI is doing the conversion between my Java code and the Kotlin code until I know all the details. It's really great to do this.
All right, admin perspective, Keith.
Right. So I'm not going to be as dirty and deep as you guys were, for obvious reasons. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have coded databases and other stuff through the years, but I am by far not a coder, as most of you know from seeing my posts. But at an admin level, what I've wanted to do for many years was, take care of just little things that annoy me in my systems, right? Sometimes it's a simple thing of just, I need a Lotus script that'll, let's say, add, a new domain to everybody, or change multiple name changes type stuff. And, things like that, I usually would go out to a developer and get some help if I couldn't get it to work. But then I said, okay, well, let's play with the AI and let's see how good it can do this stuff. And so I started with some simple things, and that was fine. But when I started trying to do something more elaborate, like I'm basically trying to take let's say spam emails that come to my account, and I don't want them, but I also want to block their IPs. So historically, I would basically have to pull that out, grab the IP, go over to the configuration doc, add it into the configuration doc, save the configuration doc, and restart router and SMTP to make sure it all took it, which, as it sounds, is not a simple 1, 2, 3 process, but it's just all manual and all that stuff. And so I said, okay, there's got to be a way to do this. I had asked a few people in the forums, and never got anywhere because basically there's a bunch of pieces I needed to work out. So I said, okay, good. Let ChatGPT figure it out. And it did. It took me about 8 hours of fighting with it to get what I wanted out of it. But eventually I got where I wanted to be. But if I didn't have even the background I have, and I was just a regular user, I probably would have given up trying to use ChatGPT after like an hour of it. Right? Because if you need to have a little bit of understanding of what you're looking at, just to be able to plug it in and make it do what you need it to do, right? Plus, you then need to be able to fix it later, right? Because eventually, I wanted to change that and I wanted to add it to a different mailbox, and you need to understand what you're doing. And what I've also found since then in doing some other work is if I tell it what I want to do, it comes up and it says, okay, here's how to do it. And I go look at it, try and do that. I'm like, none of this exists in notes. So where is this coming from, right? Now, to be fair, I'm not paying for ChatGPT. This is just the free level. So, I do say I need this for version 12, version 10, version 14, whatever it was. But it would come up and do things, and I'm like, I don't see these. I have no idea what you're talking about. And it would go, oh, I'm sorry. I meant, to do this, or, whatever its excuse was. Like, and so that becomes very frustrating. And I think from a user perspective, that's where people are going to also have issues because they want to just get an answer. The answer you get is not necessarily reality. And it probably, will lead to more frustrating from them. On the flip side, though, as most of us know, like you want to submit an abstract for Engage, poof, here's what I wrote. I give it to ChatGPT, and it spits out something better based on what I say I want to say or what I want to do it, right? Or this morning, someone asked me to do a list of functions for a meeting we're going to have, and I was being really lazy. I said, fine, just give it to me. And it gives me 3 pages of things we need to do in this meeting when people thought we were going to do like 6 items. So, at a user level, it's definitely making life easier, but I find, at least for me, trying to get it to do code and do some of the more elaborate things I'm playing with takes a lot of time and effort. And as a lot of people will say, it's also how you ask and what you ask. So there's definitely a learning curve. To be fair, kind of like, Googling. People still don't Google very well. So I just don't see the regular people being able to get that up in the same respect like we do. So.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too, right? The hallucinations. I've had the same experience where I'll ask a question specific to a particular version of Domino and get an answer back. I'm like, I've never heard of that before. So it is interesting, certainly for people who have experience like us, being able to kind of whittle through that and narrow down the question.
I mean, I read
people
it.
who
I read
don't
at
have
one point that
experience.
they did that purposely, which is frustrating to know.
Oh, really?
Yes, they've done that purposely to try and, let's say, convince us we need to pay for the higher levels. Kind of like if you have an iPhone and you try and book a flight, it's going to be more than if you have an Android phone.
Right. Okay. While we've been talking here, Dominic, you've got a question. Do you want to type that into the questions panel, or at least raise your hand? And while you do that, Bill asked the question, coming back to what Paul was talking about, given the productivity boosts with incorporating AI into your work, especially development, how is it affecting your billable hours? Okay, well, in Paul's case, you're not a billable hours guy, but Karsten, maybe you could talk about that and Sudar.
I'll pick up that because yeah, it's an interesting discussion actually, because you know the more work you do, the more money you can get. That's the template, right? It's in the real world, it's not like that. The more productive you are, the more productive ways you contribute into your projects, the more valuable you are. And I mean, I'm using AI mostly for instance. I think there are a couple of bits to take here, because the research part is just a brain work, and it's a very time consuming thing to do. I mean, just like Paul, I'm using AI for many research stuff. Like if I want to pick up a, I don't know, JSON library for my project, and I have some sort of stuff. JSON library is nothing, right? I mean, you can count a couple of JSON library in the world, but if you need something specific, it's better in memory management, better in streaming, better in like easier to use fluent style, or lightweight, etc. Like so many features you are looking for, and AI can dig the web and recover that kind of information, bring that table to you, and it's an enormous enormous efficiency for your research. And you do that, and most of the time these kind of stuff are not billable in many projects, so you gain that for your own pocket. And on the other hand, there are some productivity issues, and you spend those times, and it just makes you an inefficient developer actually, because you know you have a list of like cities, for instance, coming from the client, and you want to put them into a notes database, and you immediately say AI, get this list and bring this list into like everything is properly I don't know, escaped and put into a CSV format, and I can take that directly into my NSF without any kind of coding. AI is not just coding. That kind of stuff AI is meticulously good at. That kind of productivity is just increasing the value of your work, and it's a good thing to do. And the third one is again, I'm grabbing that from Paul. AI allows me to be able to provide some services that I had. It wasn't available to me before. Like I had this customer's C API project, and it was a DS API, and I had to like upgrade that DS API with the recent library version and add a couple of logging, etc. I have no idea about C since the university. I know the concept, but I never touched C since the university. It's been like a lot of years, bringing my age, and it's normally I wouldn't touch it. I mean, AI is great at C API. It's not that great, but it knows C. It knows a lot of things. It can hallucinate, but you are a critical, smart person, so you can understand where it can go wrong, where it can never wrong. And voila, I have a billable project on C API that wasn't possible before. And other than that, I mean, sometimes in projects, I have a couple of projects of that.
I think you're getting away from Doug's question.
Yeah, I'm using AI to generate my unit test. I mean, for developers can understand that providing unit tests is a boring job. Especially if you are providing those unit tests for very simple functionality like string concatenation and simple data manipulation, etc. And AI can do that very good, and that's a efficiency boost for my project, and I can focus on more value-added parts of my projects thanks to AI. So
but how does
AI
it affect your
definitely
billing?
I don't see any change in my billing because I can generate better programs at the end, better applications at the end. I don't see it's decreasing my billing actually.
If I could give a different view.
I think that's an important aspect. Sorry, I think that's an important aspect that Sadar's bringing up there, is that if you generate more business, if you generate better functionality and more better value for the customer, then that increases your business. And the problem is, it's not just about your billable hours. There's always someone willing to come in and take the business from you, from the customer. And if you're not willing to use AI and keeping your billable hours still as high, and they're willing to use AI and willing to do the same work for half the cost, that's going to have a massive impact on your billable hours.
Yep.
Yeah. I think in the long run, people will catch up to that. But right now, I think we're still in the age of, what took me, let's say, 5 minutes, 10 minutes with AI versus the average person taking an hour. It's still how we look at billing. When you're on a longer project, billing by hour doesn't necessarily work because you have a rough idea of what that project's going to take anyway. But if you're talking about day-to-day things where you're just fixing stuff or making simple changes and stuff, then I think you're definitely going to start seeing a very different billing rate coming down the road, because more stuff should be automated. And as we start to see more repetitive things, we should be able to automate those even more so.
It's interesting that, the perspective that I had, like I said at the beginning, where we expected, the goals that were set by our customer for the AI project, we didn't expect that we were going to be able to meet them. And the tools existed to be able to do that stuff. So research to figure out how to use it, and then, oh, hey, look, there's all this stuff that, will do exactly what we're talking about. The conversation, I've had a conversation with my wife, who works for a software company, who was talking to their dev team lead, who was saying, AI can speed up the simple stuff and get you into the meat of your development. But while doing that, you're losing that experience in terms of sort of the overall architecture of the solution, whatever it happens to be. And we're talking about larger type stuff. The problems that you run into on a larger project down the road are lessened by the experience that you gain from reaching that point. So if you speed over those speed bumps with AI, are you going to run into longer solution times when you hit the more challenging things? And the answer is, AI has got the tools to be able to deal with that stuff, or at least it feels that way. Interesting conversation. Okay, we've had a bunch of questions come in, and one on the AI side of things. So Keith, we'll throw this to you first. 2 points about AI on HCL admin. This is from Dominique. First, we built our own tools to simplify our admin life using AI, which is the good side.
Yep.
RGDP, about the data that we use through AI, brings us on-prem model and home lab. I think that's
GRDP. Yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
Do you have taken this direction, doing an on-prem AI with obviously low-tech hardware? Has anybody tried to do that?
I'm running some AI stuff on my Mac, using a llama and various models. It's never going to be as good. There are also different models that are better or worse for different things. So when it comes to coding, for example, Gemma models are not as good as the Quen models. It depends on the number of parameters, and that's going to have an impact. Well, first of all, you're going to have a GPU, but then most modern laptops are starting to ship with a GPU, but you're also going to need bigger memory. There is the rise of something called SLMs, small language models. And I think the other thing that you have to think of, and this is probably not something that you're used to if you're using Domino IQ is not everything has to go through the same model. There are going to be some things which are which take a lot less complication, like organize these tasks into the order that is best, throw that into a smaller, simpler model, compared to then give me a list of all the interactions between all of these functions. That's going to need a much bigger memory. That's going to be better to throw through a bigger model and probably with some iterative processing. But
So,
local AIs are going to be worse for quite a while.
Yeah.
But it will improve.
So, Dari, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I want to take on that model discussion, because that's a very important point Paul made there. Either with like using AI in development. I mean, in using AI in development, we are looking after a powerful model, more powerful model, but slightly the issue is going into agentic AI, and the agentic AI has a small advantage, like it can parse the job into smaller batches of jobs, and it can use models more efficiently. And in the same way, if you are developing applications using AI, this model discussion is pretty important, just because of a single very important reason. Good models are expensive, ridiculously expensive. If you are using a massive, if you are developing a massive application, the very best models, for instance, GPT 5.2 advanced, is ridiculously expensive. And also there is another point of view, there is an enormous lag. I mean, you ask the question and get the answer 5 seconds later, which is not acceptable on a standard application. If you are running a chatbot, think about like talking to Amazon and it replies back in 5 seconds. It's very annoying. And if that same experience happening with the AI bot chat is the same ridiculous experience. And so good applications are using different models at the same time for different purposes. Like if you are using a simple like query optimization, you are using a very small language model because it's fast, it's local, and there's no lag, and it's easy to launch, and there's no like processing power you are using. And if you are using a RAG, for instance, there are a couple of different tasks you need to do, like re-ranking or query optimization, response optimization, or augmentation optimization, etc. All these tasks are sent to different smaller models at the project. So you have to optimize that. If you want to send everything to ChatGPT, you are gonna face with an enormous bill at the end and enormous lag at the end. So this model discussion is important, and to get into that model discussion, actually, one has to read a lot of stuff about how models works, how models are trained, why is important to pick the right model, what kind of models are doing what kind of jobs, etc. So we are a little bit hype point right now. Every model, every new model, every best model, every bigger model, every high version number model is better than others. Discussion is all around, which is pretty misleading.
Regarding the billing, yes, working with AI feels a bit like having a junior developer next to you, and which is cheaper than the junior developer, and you're telling him or the AI what to do, and you're reviewing everything. And when I give it a task, I'm reviewing every line, and it makes me so much more productive to not have to do this kind of work anymore. And So the last few days, I exceeded my cursor plan. Normally it's $20 and it increases daily. Now it's $170 because I'm building an open source project. If you look into my GitHub account, it has to do with storing local data, replicating, syncing, so something like Domino. And that whole project is built with AI. And this is my second attempt. The first attempt was to give it any freedom it wants and to do the planning. And yeah, after the, I think, third refactoring, you're sitting there and you don't understand anything that is produced there because it's not your code. You haven't looked into it and it's a black box, so that's not the real approach. So what you want to do is to do the planning. You can discuss it with the AI and get some recommendations, write your spec, let the AI produce the plan, and then you execute the plan, and then you take a look at the result. And in this project, for example, I know everything, every line, but nothing has been written by myself. It's all AI. The whole documentation is AI. The website concept will be AI, and the website design will be AI. In that case, I'm letting GPT write the website design concept, the text. I'm giving this to Nano Banana from Google for the design, and afterwards I'm letting it implement. So it's so much powerful to do this and to not have to do all that manual stuff. And I think you get a fewer projects more, which are very small, where the customer could not afford the project otherwise, because you have to build every hour. In that case, this might end up getting more projects than less and doing more clever work or brain work and architecture work than the raw coding.
David put a comment in here, AI is making it possible for me to take on billable work that I otherwise wouldn't be able to. So there's another perspective.
Right.
Okay, any other comments on this slide before we move along? There's a couple other questions we'll jump into here as well, but anything else on this particular
wanted
slide?
to address Brian's question if we're going to move
Sure.
to that.
Yeah, sure.
So Brian Sherwood posed a question asking about any experience providing AI solutions to the end users through Domino, if possible, to improve and influence the user's experience, not just the developers. So while I haven't done this per se, I want to raise a different issue related to this topic, which is if we're going to talk about end users being, enabled to code and play with this stuff, we also need to unlock their clients to let them do these things. And this becomes a major argument, obviously, among different people. For those who remember, Paul Mooney used to say, no. The answer is always no. Prove me why, yes, right? And I get that as an admin, of course, but on the flip side, I get the fact that so many companies have locked down people from doing things because they basically didn't want to train users. And they figured if they locked them from doing stuff, they didn't have as many tickets. Now, we all know that's not true because people naturally just are doing what they're going to do, right or wrong. But if we want to give people the option to, let's say, make their own scripts, make their email do other things, or give them better views of the data they've got in that Domino database on their own, the question is, do we want to let them and how? Or if we don't want to do that, then how are you guys as developers getting that feedback from the field? Because in a lot of companies I work with, there is no feedback from the field coming back to those developers. Basically, everything kind of runs through me, which is frustrating because I'm not the end user.
The best answer for Brian's question that I'm aware of is our friend Bernd Gemer in Germany. Bernd did 2 webinars last year on integrating AI into the Notes client, and the one in particular will blow your mind. It's a sidebar application right in the Notes client, and it's a chatbot that is context aware of the selected document in the Notes client. They did some brilliant work. Sounds like really pushing the envelope. But those two webinars are available on the YouTube channel, OpenNTF YouTube channel, and I very much encourage people to go and check those out because they're coming up with really great ideas and pushing the boundaries of what you can do in the Notes client.
I'll also be following
Just
up with him, engaged to see what he's now doing, if anything, with MCP, because MCP, if you're not aware of it, is as big, if not bigger now than RAG was a couple of years ago. It's
Yep.
Model Complex Protocol. It's basically a how AI has referred to it to me as the USB-C of AI. It basically allows you to plug anything together really well. You can expose tools and resources in it, and I think it'd be perfectly feasible to have one of those tools being, or any of those tools being AI agents of themselves, and then it makes it much more powerful to integrate a multi-agent environment together. And with the release at the end of last year, the 2025 1125 spec, there's a lot of authentication and security management in there as well. I think it's going to be the major topic of this year. Integrating that into Domino is not going to be easy, but if you're talking about improving and influencing a user's experience, it's about giving them access to tools that can work with your data as you on your behalf, and MCP is the way for that.
I have
Sure.
a local MCP implementation, which is pretty small, in fact, and could be connected to Domino. The main problem is that you need to have use cases, so you cannot expect miracles. So you need to decide what to query from Domino, how to query it, and tell it the AI what command it has to send. So it's a tool like other tools, and for example, you can expose SQL or give a dedicated API to access data from a CRM system. But yeah, in that case, you need to define the use case of the user. And if it comes to working with attachments, file content, and some more complicated queries like give me all the milestones of the project and tell me how this project evolved over time or so, it's pretty difficult to do this in a simple way, even as a human. So in that case, you cannot expect that the AI does something better than hallucinating.
Yeah, actually, to clarify, Burn solution wasn't easy to build. I want to make sure that's clear. They do have it working. They were successful, but it was a lot of hard work. Sundar.
I think there is one point about that that I gave a couple of sessions around like implementing AI solutions through Domino applications, and during preparing demos, and I bumped up a couple of walls and looked into a lot of developers, how they develop AI projects, LLM projects, simple LLM projects, simple RAG workflows, etc. And learned a lot of stuff. And one thing I learned is people are looking into AI projects like any technical project. It's not. It's definitely not. For instance, if you want to generate an AI project, AI chatbot for your data, it's not just like getting the data into like vector space and RAG is doing everything. It's not like that, because beforehand and during the project, a lot of things you have to check, a lot of checkboxes you have to check, like you have to get your data and test it with different alternative models, with different alternative methods, RAG methods, optimizations, etc. Because basic RAG is giving a really bad answers, really bad retrieval performance. And a couple of projects we talked with customers, for instance, in the past, and I've seen that the customers they have that impression as well. I mean, they think like it's just a technical piece, blocks of software, and we combine those blocks and it will just work flawlessly. It's not. And in the same way, Domino IQ projects are going to be the same. Any AI projects are going to be the same. I mean, you need to work on that. There are a lot of preparation, a lot of active research on your data and surrounding applications in the AI. So it's not impossible to provide any AI application through Domino with the OpenNTF LangChain 4J library. It's ridiculously simple to talk to AI from the XPages application. I have dropped a bunch of examples, and if you try and see yourself, it won't work, because without that pre-work you need to do, AI is generating very inefficient work, I think. And also, since we talked about MCP, I had this dream to create the MCP layer on top of Domino REST API. Dominic asked that question. Do you have examples of use of N8 and agents through Domino REST API? Actually, if we can put a MCP layer on top of REST API, it's very possible to any application to handle the data layer from Domino automatically through agents. It's just a little bit legwork, a little bit deep knowledge on MCP and REST API integration, but I think it's pretty possible.
I think what you need is a pretty clever system to do a plan first, to make a plan what to extract, how to get it from Domino, and then to execute the plan. For example, looking up several documents and summarizing them, and then working on the result. So this is something that you can see in Cursor. If you're doing a refactoring, it takes a look at the code and then makes a plan and executes the plan piece by piece in different agents. So that's what they call agentic systems.
You have to invite Mr. Wiesel here.
Maybe. Is he working on something like that?
That's exactly the point. You need if you go to the generic API like the REST APIs for an MCP layer, then you definitely will have to come up with a plan. Then you need to offload the planning and generating the data to the agentic layer, more or less. That's definitely the case. Other than that, you can open up business processes through the MCP layer and describe them to the LLM, so it can more or less know in what use case which function basically it could call, which gives it the data. But the planning phase, and as Carsten described, that's something that's definitely a make or break in at least what we found in our implementations for agentic solutions. If the plan is wrong, you're fucked basically, right? That's the thing, and so that's why things like human in the loop is a very important concept in these things, because you can lose a lot of traction in trial and errors in these scenarios.
I'm going to take a quick pause
for summarization of the call. If your plan is wrong, you're fucked.
Okay, quick pause here. I moved forward the slide because it has the link on the MCP and the ACP that Paul provided, but I want to ask a poll question, which is just more to do with the webinar itself. We're trying to figure out the best way to make sure people in the community know when the webinars are and how to get in touch with webinars. So just launch a quick poll. If everybody could give us their feedback, that'd be great. And if there is not the way that you heard about this webinar in the list here, type it into the questions panel so that we can get that feedback. Please and thank you. And while the poll is running, we'll switch over to the tools conversation. So these are all tools that, as we were preparing for this webinar, people were throwing out. The panelists were mentioning that they use, and so I wanted to just give an opportunity for everybody to explain, hopefully quickly, because we've got a bunch of other questions we want to get into as well. What these tools do and why you use them, as soon as I close the poll down, we'll just open it up for everybody to answer. I've only got 54% of people voting, so folks, if you can, give us a quick vote here, and we'll just give it another 30 seconds or so, and then we'll shut it down.
There's an important question as well from Begona. It might be taken out at this brief stop. How do developers protect intellectual property without dropping snippets of your great innovative ideas in your AI research? That's a bit of tricky part, because if you look into like all AI companies contracts, basically they claim that they are not using what you provided for these AI models. They are not using that. They are not storing that. They are not sharing with anything, etc., etc. So if we trust this contracts term of services, we are safe. But I see, as far as I see, many customers, they don't trust that. And that's a bit of a tricky questioning, therefore. What do you think about that?
Well, I actually wonder whether, well, there's two options. Firstly is copyright and patenting, which can control what people can do with stuff. And then if it starts getting into legal arguments, doesn't AI then offer other new opportunities for proving that someone has infringed copyright or patent? So I think there's pros and cons there. I think there's also aspects that a lot of companies are doing a lot more, or a lot of companies are doing a lot of open source work now. And there's a benefit there, as Sadar, you saw the other day, and I think others have had, that they could get code. I think it was Sean Cole said he was able to get code that used Domino JNX very easily, and thanks Carsten as one of the developers of that. But AI was able to generate that code because it could see the open source, and therefore it's easier to use that project than a closed source project. So I think there's potential here for AI to change the balance of what gets used. And again, coming back to my comment earlier, doesn't matter how innovative your idea is, if it takes a lot longer to build a solution with that than something that's not quite as innovative and uses AI. If the less innovative version takes 20% of the time and therefore is 20% of the cost, you're not going to make money.
Regarding the JNX topic, I was pretty surprised to see that it's working, because we have not real documentation, I guess, for this case. If you want to have peak performance, I think you should better consume Domino REST APIs and pick a framework or an environment that the AI is trained on, like Node.js development. You can even give the AI access to the console to let it execute its own tests and to consume the feedback, the error of the test, and to fix the code afterwards. And if you're entering this loop of continual improvement, it's really powerful, because you can watch the AI improving your product without you doing anything.
Tom's got a comment in here that's just part of the current conversation, devil's advocate. If AI replaces a junior developer, how does a real junior developer get the chance to gather experience?
Yeah, that's my one thing I had in my mind as well when I said it the last days. I don't know what the junior developers will be doing. So as a senior, I think you have some work left to do. Of course, you're planning the architecture and have to write the spec and tell it to the customer and everything. But the junior developer has a problem, I think.
I think AI will train junior developers as well.
Yeah,
That's also
we're going to have junior developers that don't look like what we would normally expect a junior.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to be different.
But are they going to be developers? Are they going to be just-in-timers?
And they already exist. They're called AI native developers. These are people who are coming out of university and college with the approach of using AI first. And it's also like thinking about CI/CD. When CI/CD pipelines came in, has that cut the number of people? It's just allowed the people who were doing that mind-numbing stuff to do stuff that's more interesting and more productive. So I think what you'll see is that it will get rid of roles that are basically code monkeys. That's what will go, but your junior developers will actually become junior architects. They will,
I think,
have the skills to architect the system and let the AI build it and know how to ask the right questions of how do I add logging to this? How do I improve the quality? How can you refactor this so that it's better?
Test cases. Keith, what was your comment?
No, I think he's kind of right. The people end up in like just-in-time developers, basically.
Yeah.
And junior developers are definitely, it's hard. But, like I always tell people when I meet people who ask me, I'm like, if you like to code or you have that need to build something, whatever it is, right, then go do that. Figure it out, learn the stuff. You're not going to be perfect. You're not going to get it all done the first time. But if you don't at least start with something, you won't get to that further place, right? Just like working on your car. If you don't want to get in there and deal with anything, you're never really going to be able to do it, even if it's a 2-minute thing to do. And that's, I think people still have that need. But as we pointed out, it's now become different because now I can just basically say, look, I need an app that does X, Y, and Z. And what are the steps I need to go to build that app? And I will get that list, and then I can turn around like Paul just said, and make an AI and go, okay, now I have first step, and I need to do this, and I want to use it to connect to this. And you just keep walking through, and eventually you will get what you want. But without the knowledge, you're still going to get stuff that's kind of gobbledygook that you got to figure out what's wrong, because AI is going to sit there and go, well, I told you what it is. Oh, that doesn't work. Oh, well, we could try something else. You can spend all day doing that, which drives you crazy.
Yeah. Sardar, quick comment?
I think when we get out the hype section of this period, a lot of things going to settle down. But we need to change some understandings about development and developer versus project relations. I mean, it should be rewritten at some point. I don't know, not today, maybe maybe next years. But there was another discussion similar. AI should do a good clean code. I mean, readable code. Why? I mean, it can write 100 lines of if then else, and as long as it works, as long as it passes tests, there's no point for using reusable code, because AI is going to reuse that code, not us. So there was some kind of different discussions on how to architect the applications, how AI architects applications in the most efficient way. Maybe that's the feature of all application architectures. So there might be changes. Junior developer is part of this change. I mean, these job definitions are going to be redefined as we go on this path.
Okay, we're 19 minutes left in our time slot, and we haven't even talked about Domino IQ yet, so we'll hold on to that for just a half a second. Kind of a lightning round here, but does anybody want to talk about any tools that they're learning, that they're interested in, that they're excited about, anything that's listed on the screen?
Claude Cowork is something that came up. The Anthropic released it Monday of last week. It was. It's basically a wrapper for Claude CLI, but it's aimed at end users. Now, it's very much kind of alpha software at this point, but it's one of the first approaches of using AI for general purpose end user use and running tasks concurrently as well. I think we're going to see a lot more of that growing out during this year, and probably in suites like the Google Suite and the Microsoft Suite as well. I think that's going to be a big growth area this year. Goose is an open source general purpose client, but it's still very much aimed at developers.
I used Visual Studio Code and agents on one occasion. I want to share it because it's a funny story, and it's also interesting to use AI agents, because agentic AI is, I mean, Carsten and Paul are using that a lot of times. I used it first time to generate my problem was I'm doing a massive upgrade operation right now, and I have to create like 6 servers by scripting, because it's a ridiculous job. I have to create like bunch of servers, copy a bunch of files, and stop the server, start the server, etc. All the things are I'm using a PowerShell, a set of PowerShell script for that, and I asked the agent to do a specific job on a specific script to run and do some stuff on the remote server. And it started working on the script. It's written the script. Script is very well designed. Comments and tests and loggings, everything is fine until the end. At the end, it started running the script and accessing the other server. And since it wasn't on authorized user for the other server, it could do nothing, of course. It gets you are not authorized error. But if it was a elevated access command, elevated access PowerShell screen, it might ruin everything on the remote server, because remote server was running and on test server. I wouldn't be like closing down a running server. So agents are a little bit interesting. I mean, in that sense. I mean, once Stefan Wiesel told me that if you want to deal with the agents, first of all, you don't give them access to all files on your computer, because you don't know what's going to happen. So that's a little bit tricky. They are very powerful. They do a lot of stuff, but you need to be careful using that. You need to know what you are doing using them. And it's probably valid for all other tools, etc.
It reminds me of a cartoon that Bruce Elgort posted on Facebook that the end user was talking to the AI and saying, "You just deleted my production database," and the AI said, "You're right." Okay, any other comments on tools? Do we want to?
Yes, a short comment about Ada, Cursor, and Windsurf. I'm using Cursor and Windsurf. It started with Ada on the command line. The difference between Cursor and Windsurf is not so big, but I'm using Windsurf if Cursor goes down because I need some fallback solution, which is not that often. When you're using Cursor, it's the best if you're using the plan mode. So you should not use the agent mode and let it just do its work, but that it take a look at the code base first and writing a plan, and then you check the plan and add some comments, and after that you can tell it to build the plan. And if you're not happy with it, the Cursor developers say then revoke everything or reject everything and start changing the plan and doing it again.
Good. Very quick slide here talking about hallucinations. I think hallucinations is something that we've all experienced. In my case, looking for mostly Lotus script, I can say that probably my success rate is under 20% in terms of what I'm asking and what I'm getting back. And very much have learned that it's important to take the time to think about the question that you're asking in order to get the right answer. Things like, for example, I would get responses back using COM functions where I'm not running on a Windows server, for example. Any quick comments on hallucinations? Again, we're pushing about 10 minutes left in our time.
I think just a quick one here is one of the big problems is you get the responses based upon the quantity and good quality of the content, and this is the same for RAG. If you push uncurated rubbish into a RAG, then you're not going to get good results. One of the big problems with Lotus script is it's very similar to Visual Basic, so that may impact the results that you get back because there's a lot more Visual Basic out there on the internet, and particularly the problem is that most of the Lotus script that is available publicly is hidden in NSF on the OpenNTF servers, and AI doesn't know how to read content from an NSF. And that's always going to be a big problem over some other technologies where there is much more available for it to use and understand the right and wrong ways of doing things.
Dominic made a good comment. Go ahead, Keith. Sorry. Go ahead.
Score one for security.
Yeah.
The fact that they can't read your NSF, and it, all the things we argue with customers all the time is a valid point. You want your data encrypted and you want it properly encrypted. So this is what you have. But yes, there should be a way for us to work with it better and easier going forward, I would hope.
Dominic's comment here. Go ahead, Sudhir.
I think the hallucination is very, very well defined by Paul here. The less data on the net, the less quality AI answers. The biggest example, not from the programming area, I am also writing articles for a local magazine about like Turkish conspiracy theory culture. And Turkish conspiracy theory culture is not well known in English-speaking societies, and it's making up a lot of fake news, a lot of fake information while helping me. And if somehow I let it to generate something for me instead of fixing me, it creates a lot of it becomes a Twitter user basically.
Yeah, Dominic's comment, and Sudar, it fits right in with what you said. Basically, if you've got the experience, you can smell the hallucination, right? You can detect it, whereas a junior
Exactly.
dev is not going to be able to do that. Dominic, you mentioned your notes in the audit tool that you made with Claude Code. That might be something that we could do a little video or something about and post on the OpenNTF YouTube if you're interested. Okay, I think the next topic is one. Oh, no, I took it out. Okay, so I'll go to the resources page. We've got under 10 minutes left here. Domino IQ was something that was asked about, and I think for the most part, everybody knows that it's very new and very young, and that there's a lot of investment going into it for 14.5.1. But in terms of right now, I know Sudar, you and I have talked about Domino IQ. Why don't you share your thoughts?
Yeah, Domino IQ is in the early ages right now, and it's not from the AI perspective. It's no different than building your own I don't know, a local AI solution. You are using the same model as everybody is using. Domino IQ is not just providing you access to that models through Lotus script right now. It will evolve. It is evolving. There are new features, very new important feature. I don't know how much of them are publicly known right now, but EA2 is bringing a lot of new features with Domino IQ. It's getting more interesting after EA2 and after probably 14.5.1. We'll see a lot of different applications written by Domino IQ. Right now, all that we can see is sending a question and sending a chat message to the local AI and getting back the response. You don't need a Domino IQ for that. You can do that with any other local AI machine, which Domino IQ will make it just easier to access through Lotus script, nothing more. But if they bring more integration into Domino data directly, it will be getting more interesting. I think we'll hear a lot of things at Engage, and after Engage, we probably do a webinar or maybe an open mic, I don't know, at OpenNTF about that to get more information.
Anybody else? Okay. Question: can we access in good conditions to AI without Domino IQ, but with Note's HTTP request with a good experience? I believe that's
yes.
How? Yeah.
Actually, if you are Dominic, if you go to Daniel Nashett's template on OpenNTF.net, Daniel wrote a couple of stuff. For instance, if you don't have Domino IQ features on your Notes client, if your Notes client is old, if it was falling back to Notes HTTP, something like that. Notes HTTP is a kind of a limited function, has kind of a limited functionality, but it can work pretty good for basic OpenAI stuff. There were also an OpenAI library on OpenNTF contributed as a project, which was written by two German gentlemen. They had, it's not working now because OpenAI API has changed then, but it's a good starting point. You can use Notes HTTP request to connect OpenAI and do whatever you want to do.
I'm not sure if Lotus script is the right language to do these kind of calls, because it's
That's correct, yeah.
synchronous call and you have to wait for the result. You cannot see
exactly.
immediate results, so maybe you will be disappointed after the long time you have to wait.
Domino IQ resolves that with a trick. Domino IQ allows you to run async function, which is pretty pushing the Lotus script limits, but it can do that.
Okay, we're 5 minutes left. Kind of run around the table here quickly and see if anybody has anything else to share or call out any of the resources. I know a lot of these resources came from you, Paul. If there's any that you want to highlight for the folks that are on the call here.
I'd point just quickly to two of those YouTube channels that I use a lot. The IBM Technology gives a lot of good intro videos, and if you're wanting to stay up to date on what's happening and get a deep dive on the latest techniques, then the one below it, the AI News and Strategy Daily YouTube channel. I think that guy has a lot of good understanding of AI and a good assessment of the IT and business ecosystem.
Okay, anybody else? Any last thoughts? All right. I'm going to ask our audience to send us feedback on this session. Was it good? Did it cover the things you thought it might? Where were the gaps? If you got other questions, you know what I'm going to say. Jump over onto the Discord channel and let us know because this is just very quickly looking at it, one of the best attended webinars we've had in some time. So clearly it's a topic area that we want to spend more time talking about. So please do give us your thoughts. And then outside of AI, anything else in the Domino world or the HCL software world that you'd like to see webinars on, or if you have something that you'd like to share, again, I encourage you to get in touch with us. We make it really easy. We're nice people. We're easy to work with, and we'd love to have you come and participate with us in the community. So for that, I appreciate everybody's time today. Thank you all. This is going to be posted up on the YouTube channel here shortly.
Just quickly,
that,
Graham.
Yes, please, Paul.
Dominique's mentioned a couple of times N8N. Dominique, have a look at Langflow and ask your favorite AI to tell you more about that. It seems to be a kind of open source approach that may offer some of what you're using in N8N.
Very good. Thank you, Paul. We'll wrap it up there. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.